Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all right,
video.
all right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Phil.
How are you?
Where's Pick? Where is he? Where is
the camera?
That is a voice I haven't heard in a long time.
Oh, I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Yeah.
Even longer for Kenny.
I think the last time, what's funny? I was thinking this morning, that's the last time I talked to him. I think it was probably at the office, at J&J's office. And I think you were probably on the second, third floor of that atrium thing, and I think I was down below, and Joanne's giving me shit for talking to you like 3 floors apart. And I'm looking at her thinking, I had to start this conversation. He yelled first. So what the hell are you yelling at me? And you know what? He's a bigger boss in this building than I am. So what the hell? I'm just responding to the boss.
That's hilarious.
I think that might've been one of the last times, like seriously, because, and then I think I changed desks and you ended up going to, I think you went to the States at that time, right?
Yeah.
Did you go for Band-Aid?
Yeah, I went to the
like
States. I did the States twice, actually. What was that, like 99 to 04 and then 2011 to 2019. So
I think probably the last time I'd seen you that is probably 2010, 2011. Like it would have been in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were in.
That's a long
Malcolm then.
time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what did we have? 20. I don't know. I've lost all sense of perspective. Is that when we had? Is that when we had the? What was it? The ISC or whatever it was, like the display merchandising area. Were you, Kenny? Were you in time for that?
I came when that just opened. I was the first guest. Oh, that's what they tell me, Phil.
There you go.
I don't know if I was or not. I mean, I think that's probably bullshit.
We told everybody that.
Yeah.
Everybody from Ontario was
Everybody
probably
was
their
the
first
guest.
but I was the first guest.
But it's like, I just bumped into that guy going out the door.
Yeah, don't go out that way. Go out the back way. Because
I know that guy's from Walmart, man. I thought I was the first.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, that's when I came into it, Phil. That was the reason I went to the office because I think we redid the cough and cold planogram or I don't know, something like that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back, right? That's a long time. I haven't seen that's like 10 plus years.
10 years, yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's a long time.
It was a fun run, though. It's
what the hell, right?
The time at J&J Canada was probably the best time. I was there 29 years, so
long time.
Wow.
That time was probably the best time. Was in that sort of, I don't know, 05 to 011 period. There was just so much fun.
I think it was just fun in retail.
And that's obviously when we brought together J&J,
the 3 companies,
Consumer Healthcare and Pfizer Consumer Healthcare, created one new company, which was interesting, exciting, and in itself, right? So
dizzying for a few years, right? There was a couple of really fun years in there, but
you guys overlap
good.
Though, right?
Really
you worked under. I would assume for how long?
Yeah. For a long time, actually, from 05, because I came over in the Pfizer part of the deal.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I was there till I moved to the US, like global franchise in I don't remember when that is. 09 or 2010, somewhere in there. Yeah. So I worked for Jeff in a bunch of like slog through Fem High for many years. That was fun. And then got tortured on skincare, which was
different.
I actually thought Femcare was the worst. And then until I got to, like the whole beauty franchise, and I was like, oh my God, this thing's even more intense than the other one. So, but it was fun. I really liked it.
I grew up in those days in, I guess when I first started in BC. I always think back to the days of I was P&G when I first got out to Vancouver for a few years. worked on the always test market, and then that's how I got into J&J, because they were losing their shirt, and it was like, oh, we got to figure out a way, and so let's hire some people from P&G, and came over to J&J from that period of time, and cut my teeth, if you will. I was thinking about it this morning. I mean, my first big customer, if you will, was H.Y. Louis London Drugs, right? So the family, and Carl Vetter and Perry Fong were the two that I was calling on, and boy, did they take me to school.
Personality plus on both of them.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember the very first visit to into H.Y. Louis with, and I put my book down on the desk, and immediately was like, "Did you scratch my desk?" And I was like, "Whoa!" When I picked up my big binder book or whatever, and sure enough, there was a big scratch under there that did not look fresh.
It wasn't fresh. It wasn't fresh. It's scratched 30 years prior.
From that moment.
Those fucking guys. That's so old school, right? So old school. I think we're losing his internet.
I think we're losing.
And I was like, oh my god. And yeah. And every time I come in, he's like, "Are you going to scratch my desk again?" And I'm like, no. I look back on it now and think, like, those are the days. Oh, whether you knew it or not.
They were fun. And then you had Perry, like, half the time you can understand him, and he talks so freaking fast.
Yeah.
And just blah, 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 blah. Okay. Pardon me? Excuse me? Because we used to be in the stores, right? In the stores, if you had to phone, you never wanted to phone Perry because you couldn't understand him. And you never wanted to phone Simon because he just yelled at you.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all of HABA and pharmacies. So now you're thinking, some managers say, well, go phone Simon. You're thinking, I ain't going to phone that fucking guy. He's going to just yell at me. It's going to be hello, and he's going to take a strip out of you, right? I'm not phoning that guy. And then you phone Perry. Ping-pong.
And Perry he'd phone me almost every Sunday. I mean, this is all before cell phones and stuff, right? So, my house phone would be ringing, and he's like, "I'm going through the flyers, and I found a flyer from Super Value up in like Kitimat, BC, that's got a lower price on OB tampons, and you're selling it to me for." And I'm like,
"Hey, what do you want me to do? What would you like?"
Hey, okay. But as someone who reported to you, or felt. Every Saturday morning, I've told that story on this podcast before. Every Saturday morning, Jeff would send me a note going, "Neutrogena and Shoppers Drug Mart. This is the wrong image." I'm like, I keep sending the new images. I'm torturing the salespeople.
Plus, you guys should know better. The buyers don't give a shit. I used to get those emails every Monday. I think, yeah, whatever. Phone marketing. Don't bug me.
All I say, well, I guess you guys are good friends with Bram over at Shelfgram as well, right? So I tell him all the time, boy, I would have been like a terrible boss if this had existed, 15, 20 years earlier. You'd literally have perfect view of stuff going on in so many places. And with the, with mobile phones, I mean, you'd be constantly pinging people, texting them, whatever store in Phoenix, Arizona doesn't have the right amount of facings. He's like, well, that's how I was born. He said, I wasn't doing my store checks. So, so he's a good friend. So
he's a great guy.
Plus he's got a cool thing going. I mean, I laugh at that one too, because if you think about it, as a buyer, I would have sat there and been on that all day looking at the stores, because I know by the time you sent a district manager or you phoned the store manager, they'd clean it up. And you were thinking, that definitely was not the way it looked. I'm positive.
Yeah. Now
you could go in and you just be relentless, sending pictures. This is how it looks.
Yeah, it's almost obsessive compulsive behavior.
It's distracting more than anything, but it's cool. It's because it is a tool that we never had, right? So
it's awesome. Are you kidding?
I love it.
Okay, so I'm going to do a quick intro because we do this. We roll into things. But for listeners, we have Jeff Smith on with us today. This is a real treat. So Jeff comes from J&J. You've just heard it, like 29 years or 29, if not more, right?
A little over 29.
Okay, at J&J, we'll have him tell the story, but it's you've heard parts of it here, and then I worked for Jeff in the Canadian organization for quite a few years, and Kenny, Jeff and J&J called on Kenny for many years. But we talked to Jeff, and we thought it'd be really cool to have him on, just because he's got this wonderful story of a great legacy at J&J, but then life is not done yet, right? So 29 years later, he's doing something different. And that's a big part of the show is kind of that idea of, what do you do when you when you're done one thing, you got to start another leg. What does that look like, right? So,
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've listened to the podcast, Jeff. Like to us, I think that was the most intriguing part is we're looking at it, go, because I remember when you left, like, what's he doing? They started all these things. I told Phil, I said, we got to get him on because it's another cool story that you get to that certain point of life. And these are big decisions because these are big jobs, big money. They're, prestigious and all that. And people just do these turns and try something new. So we thought, wow, this is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Dying to hear the story.
Yeah. So at this point,
you know what? I do listen to the podcast. So.
I thought his internet's choppy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think
no, that's really okay.
Choppy,
your internet's a bit choppy.
Oh,
if I catch you and then I don't catch you, then I don't know if it's mine or not.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's all good in the hood. We'll make it work.
We'll make it work.
Christ, we've made it work with mine and been choppy when I'm one of the people who has to talk more. Just want to make sure it's not mine.
Maybe what we do is let's pick up. Tell us what you want to tell us. I think we've heard little bits of some of the story already, and then pick up where you want to pick up, and then tell us about the rest of it.
Absolutely. So I mean, super appreciative to be on the podcast. I love listening to you guys. The banter is hilarious. Oftentimes I'm doing my morning 4-mile walk. I put it on just for not only the learning but the entertainment value. I love listening to it, laughing your heads off. So it's good. It's good shit. It's good shit to start the day. I had a wonderful career. I always say to people, I don't know if I would ever do it differently. I mean, times obviously changed over the years, but I have no regrets, and was able to get from starting out from as a small town kid coming out of born in Brandon, Manitoba, and went to school at the University of Saskatchewan, and ended up in Vancouver, in a sales job, and to go from that, and eventually was able to finish my career. Last 5 years of my career as the company group chairman for North America for J&J's $7 billion consumer business, and you're like, hey, this is great, and on one hand, and then it's like, is this really all I wanted to do in my life? And obviously the marketplace had changed dramatically, and big consumer packaged goods wasn't as fun in call it 2015 to 2020 as it was in 2005 to 2010. It was a tough business, multiple restructurings, everything being driven by a profit line, and all the growth was coming from startups that came out of primarily came out of that 2010 financial crisis that created just an enormous amount of startup, but timed with the growth of early growth of e-commerce, and the ability to build a business. And I was like, hit that 55 mark and thought, I've got the best of both worlds here. I can retire out early, and then go create a new life and start all over. And that's what I decided to do. And haven't looked back since. I mean, it's part of that was motivated by getting back to Canada. I retired out in August of 2019.
Okay.
Who knew that a few months later I'd be locked down and whatever. But getting back, I got grown kids and stuff in Ontario, and out of the house and things like that. But it was time. Aging parents, a bunch of different factors that just make it
right.
Better, and timed with like having fun for 10 years, and seeing if I tell people all the time, how little I knew when I had this big job at J&J in some ways about how shit got done, to having to do it yourself has been both eye-opening and humbling, because I wish I tell people all the time, I wish I could walk back around the 2,000 plus employee building and thank everybody differently than at the time, because shit got done. And now I'm like on the phone with FedEx trying to figure out how to get an order. And I question all the time, who did this before?
Yeah,
exactly. It's amazing, right? You start thinking all these people were, we appreciate it. I mean, because I think the three of us are pretty fair people, and we thanked people as we did it. But you do get to the point that you go back to, I should have thanked them more, because I don't know. I mean, I realize how little I actually did and how much actually got done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
and I come out saying, oh yeah, I run digital commerce businesses or whatever, you know, and then you come up, it's like, okay, run a Facebook ad. And it's like, you want me to do it? Oh,
well, I was just there when they did it.
I'll send an email.
Who do I send this to?
I'll write a brief, send an email. It'll just.
It happened magically over here.
Yeah, well, but I was still involved, right?
Totally. And now it's like, a completely different thing. So, I've been coming out, obviously, coming back to Canada, I've done a couple things, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about the Canadian operations. But, one of the things that I did see at J&J was, and it's not unique to J&J, it's large consumer packaged goods, that, they aren't launching new brands. They acquire things in the marketplace, and they tend not to be able to acquire them until they've grown up to be, $300-400 million businesses. So they're spending billions of dollars to acquire them. And then they bring them in-house and immediately start a whole remediation plan to make, the manufacturers all fit their standards, the formulas to meet all their standards. And not that the founders that started them, did something differently, but, they grew them up on bootstrapping. And, the big companies take all the risk out of everything they buy and put them into their own systems. And it was like, well, why do we buy these businesses that are growing 25-30% a year? And by the time we're done remediating them, we've made them a 5% growth brand and sucked all the energy out of what the founder built. And so I came out and we started on the way out with the guy that was the head of R&D and technology for J&J Consumer. We started a venture studio to work with large consumer packaged goods partners to launch new disruptive business models and/or brands that meet all the standards of the big companies. So we take them,
that's cool.
We build them, we formulate them, we package them, we build the websites, we do all the regulatory work, we do all the legal work, and we launch them and we grow. We get them growing, and if they get some traction, then they can come in on a Series A fundraise and get a little bit of ownership. And if it works out, they can catch them when they're $50 million in size,
right?
Instead of waiting till some founder is exhausted all the growth out of it, right? So,
right.
And if you're I get it. If you're a founder, it's like, hey, I've spent 5 years getting it here. Now it's growing 100% a year. Why would I sell it now?
Yeah.
And then they wait until it plateaus and then try and figure out a way to anchor to make it more attractive to a large strategic, right? So,
well, a lot of them don't even have that idea in their head, though, Jeff. Right? A lot of the founders or people who start the companies just want to do it.
Correct.
Right? It gets to the point where I think it's so large or growing, so they're just tired. Like you said, I think most don't go in with the notion of selling. I don't think most do. No, I don't.
I think the other way around. I think a lot of people
today do. Yeah. I think if you go founders back a couple years before the multiples were 3, 4, 5, 10 times, I don't think that was the intent. Like he talked to Mike and those guys, like Fat and all them. Yeah. Like that school, I think wanted to do something cool, gave a shit, really wanted to. And it's a different business then. Yeah. People today who want to sell run a whole different business. And
today's founders, though, a lot of them want to sell, right? Like they're
burning money a mile a minute, right?
3-5 million, and then somehow they skip between 5 and 20 because they kind of hit 5 and go, I'm going to be 100 million. I got to be able to sell this thing for whatever, right? So,
well, that's when they get the $20 million injection, piss it all away in marketing, grab market share. There's no profits or nothing, but a big company like a J&J would see the growth and say, oh, okay, I'll take a chance.
Yeah. And even with that, even on the financial side, we've said that, like, we're building it with the financial P&L that a big company would expect. So it's got unit economics that are profitable from the first sale, that kind of stuff, because it's who you're building it for. And we're not creating something where we're going to lose $100 on every customer we acquire. Just growth looks fun, So that was in.
That's cool.
We launched in November of 2019, and we've launched 8 brands over that period of time. Clearly, 99% of those launched during the pandemic. So we've building those, virtually, if you will, because haven't been able to, get into offices the same way, and have taken 8 brands to market, and one of them has actually made it to its Series A and is growing nicely.
Wow, it's awesome.
hair care brand called Sunday to Sunday. And each one of them, when we build them, we put a founder and CEO in place. And they build a team around it and they grow it, and just got distribution from both Sephora and now going into Ulta, and probably do
That's awesome.
$3.5
Wow.
$4 million this year and $12 million
Yeah.
this year. And yeah, so it's on a nice run. And yeah, we've got a lot of work to do because it's still all early, but it's
Yeah.
fun to build.
So you didn't waste any time. You retired, and then
waited about
started
10 minutes and then
almost right.
On the flight home.
took a morning walk and then started something new, I think.
And I think I wrote an article on LinkedIn on the way out that I think it was called "Don't Retire #Accelerate." And I wrote it a little bit as a mindset thing that, I was, and then I've had a bunch of people come back and say, Jesus Christ, you weren't kidding.
Yeah.
This wasn't really the plan, but it's gone this way. But
sometimes you put it to paper, right, or digital, and you do because your exit that's when you're doing all your thinking. Because you're thinking, "Fuck, did I do the right thing? Like, could I stay? What am I doing?" You start doing that, and then all of it. Because I watched like Phil did. It was like 1 second you were there, and then I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." I mean, because you're a little bit older than me. You're not that much older than me. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. I didn't think he'd go that quickly, and then it was bang, 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 bang. And I thought, okay, like he's obviously, the retirement thing isn't working too well for him because that lasted literally about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I always say, it's like, if I'd decided to retire to travel the world, I would have been highly disappointed because 20 years.
That was done.
Traveling the world. So it's like, it's worked out well that I was, more interested in, going back to the beginning and what is it like to be a founder and start a company and bootstrap your way through, right? And some of the the venture studio stuff we're doing, with a kind of a partner in mind, large CPG and
right.
Others. I mean, but even stuff I've done on my own. I mean, I think Phil, you've seen a little bit. We've I got back to Canada and realized how hard it is to just be like find a place to buy sort of natural, organic, non-GMO, sustainably sourced products. Having lived in the US for a long period of time, you could almost snap your fingers and have 3 or 4 different options.
Yeah, easy.
Right.
Yeah.
In Canada, there is, I guess if you're in Vancouver or you're in Toronto proper, you can get to a Whole Foods.
Sort of, yeah.
Or Choices or whatever, but they're not ridiculously prevalent. And if you're outside of the sort of metropolitan area,
no, forget it.
Very difficult, right?
I think it's near impossible. Like most small towns, and we'll say small to 25 to 100,000, will have a couple good health food stores. Or natural shops, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. Maybe not great health food, but they'll have stores. You need to be, like you said, in the centers. So if you're outside of that, it's mainstream. Yeah. It's just tougher to find. I mean, there, no doubt, but
you can run around and get your stuff. And I found ourselves we were going to multiple places, and I live right in the city in Toronto and sort of Blue West Village Junction area. So it's not like I'm in a remote spot. And I was driving to like Mississauga to go to a Whole Foods. And I'm like, this makes no sense.
That's insanity though, right?
It's a 30-minute drive to buy natural and organic products. And then I couldn't find everything I wanted anyhow.
Exactly.
So I had to go to 2 or 3 other stores that were good local. And then everything was, massively overpriced relative to, I'll call it, an organic peanut butter versus a conventional peanut butter.
Right.
100%, price markup.
There's no logic in that.
Yeah, no, none whatsoever.
Stuff that's not good for me, why does it have to cost me twice as much to buy it?
Right.
Right. So we myself and three other guys ended up launching Rise Market to basically, it's an mission-driven online, grocery store. Why I got in the grocery business, I don't know. But
it's fun.
And to take out the middleman, right? The whole premise is sort of like, I don't know, a Costco from a membership perspective.
Yeah.
With a Whole Foods like catalog and delivered directly to your door wherever you live in Ontario, whether you're in a small town or not. And all shelf stable right now products, the center of the grocery store.
Right.
But and curated, right? Like I use Graham's Shelf Graham business every now and then to tell the story. It's like, why do I
Yeah.
foods and have a choice of like 30 peanut butters or nut butters? Now I got to spend my time trying to read all the labels. Why can't I have somebody who literally curates the best 3 or 4 and provides them to me in a way that I can get it at 30-40% cheaper than Whole Foods, but delivered to my door? That's what we're doing at Rise, is making sure that you can eat healthy and you can access it wherever you are in the province, in a way that doesn't break the bank. You shouldn't have to pay the premium for it. And we do it just simply by charging $5 a month for a membership and giving you access to the direct buying model that we power together. We buy direct from the brands, highly focused on Canadian entrepreneurs, and we pass that wholesale pricing straight through to the consumer. So every day it's 30%, 40% cheaper than if I ran around to the grocery stores.
Pretty cool.
So is this part of, because you've got the incubator, is Rise part of that as well, or Rise is something separate?
I was bored with only 8 launches in the incubator.
Oh, so this is outside. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm getting a little dizzy, right? Because I'm like,
back to the retirement model.
Retired.
Yeah, the retirement
model.
And
then he thought, I'll do some stuff on the side. So I'll incubate 8 brands, set them loose. Yeah. And then so wait. So the incubator, is that Ignite?
Yeah, that's Ignite.
Okay, so that's Ignite, and then this is Rise. This is bad because I've already found the website,
and I'm going to go do that later. I want to see what this thing is too.
Probably wind up buying like a chunk of stuff, but then you also have another one. You have
this is where I do hard work. Kenny's like, Phil, why do you always go to the website?
Because this is what happens, right? And it's so distracting because I don't have he's got 4 screens. I got 1. So I have to minimize you guys, type. It's too much confusion. Pisses me off when he does that because I get all antsy because I want to see shit.
Yeah, because it's cool though.
Yeah, I know it's cool. I get it. That's why it drives me nuts.
Okay, wait. So you've got Rise, which is super cool. And then, but you also have Honed as well. And is that different than Ignite?
It is different. It's part of Ignite. So Ignite is, okay. I did start that. I actually started that with my daughter before even retiring out of J&J. Okay. But Ignite has taken the largest share position as we raised money in Honed. And so it's part of the incubator now, and still going well. So it's, personalized vitamins,
I've seen stuff on this. Yeah,
I was on this prior to retiring out from J&J. When I was traveling all the time, I'd run into actually, Phil, you might know Betsy Taggart that worked at J&J for a period of time in Montreal. So Betsy and Sam were our co-founders on that. Sam had been working with professional athletes, primarily sort of Gary Roberts and his team. In the fitness studio,
hockey,
help with professional athletes who were not getting the best out of their career. And he used a hair test. You take a few strands of your hair, send it off to a lab. The hair is essentially a protein that allows you to read exactly what's going on in your body at the cellular level, where you're deficient, where you have toxins, and then create a custom formula unique to your body that gets you back into balance and gives you the energy and helps you sleep and all those things. Cool. I was like, sounds like bullshit to me, but I'm having troubles with all those things. So what's that? I can give up a few pieces of hair to find out. And this is probably a decade or more ago. And sure enough, he's like, I don't really do this for consumers, but send it in. And I got it back, and he's like, wow, you are messed up.
Thank you.
Oh no.
Thank you. And so he gave me a list of vitamins to go buy, which I did. I ran out to the store and bought the brands and things that he told me to do, and gave me a whole regimen. Take this on Tuesday, take this on Wednesday, and I was buying little baggies and packaging my own vitamins out of the bottles into little plastic bags to travel with. And I looked like a drug dealer when I was going through airports, but and as soon as I went on the program, I immediately just started feeling like I had energy to burn like all day long. I started sleeping like 8 hours, every single night. things like digestion issues and some of that kind of stuff went away. And I was like, really? And then so then I'd go along and I'd stop and it'd all come back. And I'd be like, damn, I got to go find those vitamins. And so I stayed on that all through about 10 years, the last 10 years of my career. And then as I was getting ready to sort of retire, we were sitting around one day and it was like, my daughter's like, why can't regular people do this? Like, why do you have to be a professional athlete?
Yeah.
And Sam is the gentleman that was behind it. Was, well, I can only really work with people one-on-one, 10, 12 of them in a year. And then, they're paying me $5,000, $7,000.
Right.
And she was like, well, why don't we just make it $100 to get the results, and we'll prepackage all the vitamins and ship them to your door every 28 days. And so that's what Live Home is, the brand, and the people that are on it. I mean, you just get phenomenal results. Because part of the problem is that you go to the store and you buy whatever you think you should buy.
Yeah.
And you start following the label, but how do you know how much vitamin D your body needs? And mine's different than yours. And so the bottle treats us all like we're equal.
Right.
But, your body is not the same as somebody else's, depending on what you do, where you live, all these different things, right? So, it's a fascinating business. It's a little harder to scale on the basis of you've got to do the lab diagnostic test up front. Because we can't create that custom formula for you. But then
you don't have that.
6-8 months later, you retest and you see all the improvement in graphical form, and you change your form. We change your formula then, and you just start to move towards maintenance, and you go from there.
This is something you need to do. You need to pair with a pharmacy. John C. and I talked about this years ago because Weber was in town, right? So when Robin Hobbs was alive, we were starting to say, okay, listen, we have Script Pro machines in the back of pharmacy. There's no reason we can't take 15 locations, put vitamins in there, and do custom builds for whoever you are. We're doing them anyway for people, right? So what's the difference? But if you take your angle, pharmacy is always looking for a new revenue stream, right? So you let pharmacy be the test, let pharmacy be the dispensing, and even for the consumer, now you're actually talking to a healthcare professional who knows what vitamins work better with maybe the meds you're on, could potentially suggest different eating habits. They may even have dietitians on staff, right? So because if you're talking scaling, that may be the way to do it, because they have the ability to do a lot of that in the back of the shop. That's what they do.
We had to figure out how to package the vitamins into these things. I mean, we went straight to McKesson.
Exactly.
Exact same JVM machines that pharmacies use.
It's the same thing, right? It's all there.
And that's how we package it for you today. And
I think it's a great idea. We talked about this years ago, because I think there's a lot of people that don't. It's what you said, is that I may only need 400 IUD, not 1,000, or maybe, you know what? Maybe I need 1,200 a day. I don't know what I need. Right. And I wouldn't, if someone told me, what the hell do I care? I'll listen to people, especially pharmacy. I'll listen to it. Yeah, sure. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. And you go to the store there, even if you just hone in on one vitamin, there's like vitamin D, there's like 4 or 5 different choices.
Exactly. And who manufactures them? And I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I know that in theory, we're in Canada, there should be all safe and they should all be what they say, and that's probably true, but I still don't. I would love someone to be able to walk me through things and say, hey, to this isn't this.
Figure out one brand, and then let's say you need 8 vitamins, right? So now you're vetting through 40 different variations of what you need. Like,
we run our machines with 45 different vitamins.
It's perfect.
Some people might need, like there's some people that, they might get, I don't know, chromium twice in a month.
Right.
That's all they need to get their body back.
Right. That's why you're taking it every day in a multi.
Yeah.
And if we can prove it to you over, 6-8 months and show you what changes in the graphs, then you get the benefits of it, right? And
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, again, because you got a whole pocket of us that are we're the next big chunk of aging sort of people, and we're different than the old one. I mean, we're willing to spend. We love the customization. It's really all about us and how it works for me specifically. Not, I appreciate what you're going to take, but that doesn't help me.
Correct.
Right. So that's interesting.
So fun times.
That's cool. So that's cool.
I mean, both of those run out of Toronto, both Live Honed and Rise Market. Rise is actually pretty new. We only started in May. And the one thing I'm finding super interesting in that is just meeting Canadian entrepreneurs that you guys know it better than I do in some ways that, the retail environment in Canada is really tough if you're a startup founder. High concentration, the big players. I'll give Sobeys some credit here with Mark Medeline in there now.
Yeah.
But for the most part, don't give a shit about
Well, I'll tell you what, and Sobeys needs to prove it, because Sobeys has gone down this path before. So if you hold them to it, because we've heard this bullshit before. You know what? Someone needs to finally understand that there's two players in the game, three players. There's a consumer, the retailer, and then there's the supply chain.
Yeah.
And you can't keep stepping on the supply chain. It's so, and Loblaws is horrific for that. Horrific. Most of them are, but Sobeys, I know he's talked it, but he needs to walk it now.
Yeah.
Right?
There's only one club channel, banner. There's only one mass market retailer banner. Like, the choice is limited.
In our country, it's small. There's really only one grocer, if you really think about it. Loblaws is really the grocer of the country. And no disrespect to Sobeys, Metro, and Over 80 and all them, but truly, Loblaws, you're kind of stuck. You got one drugstore, one grocer, one mass merchant, and one club. Like you said, there's four guys in the country that own most of the retail.
Yeah, and it's
ridiculous.
You've gone and created whatever your new barbecue sauce, and then you're trying to get it. It sounds great to get on the shelves of 500 stores until you get on the store shelf, and then you realize the requirements.
Well, just the startup is $50,000 for the listing fee. You're thinking, okay, what the hell? What is that?
We've got damages. There's
debits,
allowances. There's slow moving allowances. It's like,
oh my God. There's end of month, I need more money allowance. There's just
part of what I'm realizing is that we can provide a great opportunity to get, we don't have listing fees. Our whole job
awesome.
Promote, like we're a house of brands. We're very curated in each segment and category. If you meet our requirements, we will we'll put it out there, and we talk one-to-one with the consumer. We can sample with them every month. And people are ordering, our average order size is a little over $90. People are ordering every 4 weeks. It's a type of consumer. I call them the wellness warrior, the people that want to live better. The surprising part of that launch has been that probably 45% of the sales are all around snacks. So healthier, healthier popcorns, healthier, cookies, and I'm like, the whole mindset is healthy, but everybody goes for snacks.
But if you can get them there, you can get them all through the path. But if you can't get them on the fun stuff of life, who cares about the rest? And I think that's the mentality of people, right? So good for you.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So how has it been? Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
If I went back 30 years and somebody said, do you ever think you're going to be a retailer? I would have paid people to tell them, no, I wouldn't have been one.
Oh, absolutely. Why would you want to go into retail?
No, but you went into retail and you went into grocery. Like,
the grocery retail is even better. I love it though. I think it's awesome.
It's amazing. That's
I've never let go of grocery anyway, so I get it. I'll tell you the truth. Like, out of everything that, because we've all bought a whole bunch of different consumer package, grocery is the best. Food is the most fun to do because everybody likes to eat. Everybody has to eat 3-4 times a day. You eat. Food is a hoot. But it's really tough. It's really tough.
I think if somebody said open up a brick and mortar version,
that's a little tougher.
I'd run for the hills pretty quick. But doing it online, and then also doing it with I call it a simpler model, right? We don't run promotions, we don't run sales. We whatever we buy the product for, we pass that wholesale pricing on to the consumer. In the long run, the plan is that, like a Costco or whatever, we'll make our money off that $5 a month. That becomes the profit center, and everything else is just getting it out to consumers. And
it was Costco's done it, and Costco's done, if you think about it, on real estate with big buildings and lots of staff. And it's funny you say that, but I can't wait to talk to you 3-4 years when you open up your first sort of bricks and mortar that ties into this thing, because it's almost inevitable. Listen, just so you know, I'm telling you guys,
3 or 4 years, but that's really like 90 days, right?
I didn't want to go there. I'm trying to give him time.
So
I'm trying to be the nice guy in the podcast.
Just call us back, and then we'll bring you back on. You talk about how you changed your mind.
I'll adjust to make you 1 or 2 years from now. I'm not going to go down Phil's
time lapse.
But I tell you the truth, Jeff, it does, because you know what? All of us thinking, well, it's nice to touch it and like to see it. Like it happens. It's food. It's just inevitable. So we'll wait for that one.
I think I'd rather go find a partner that has those stores already.
That's possible. That's doable too, though.
That's very doable. Yeah.
Amazon did that.
Yeah.
They bought it.
Yeah. Yep.
No, you buy 400 stores. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to do that tomorrow morning, but you know, who knows with you? That's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
Bring that full circle all the way back again and say, boy, when you come out of retirement and realize that, as I said at the beginning, it's like how little you knew about how things were happening, right?
Exactly. How much fun it is right now, right? Look at the things you're doing.
Across borders, all the stuff that just was, happened magically, that you're doing day after day. And it's like, it's fun. It's invigorating. I mean, I would like, if there's one part about trying to be successful and, having something that works out, I do it for even if it didn't in some ways, just because there's so much learning in it. You're getting, it just keeps you alive every single day in a way.
Yeah.
And I look back and say, could I have gone another 5 or 6 years and retired out at 62 and at J&J? Absolutely. There was no no need to leave, but it would have been like I wouldn't have had that same passion and energy for life. That or not doesn't really matter. In some ways, you want it to, and we'll work hard to do so. But just the enjoyment part of starting over again is worth it, and worth its weight in gold in a way.
But I think that's the fun of this. Like, we've had, like I said, numerous guests on, and who've done the same. And you're kind of thinking that's the fun of it right now. Like, in some ways, I left at 50, and then 5 years later, I'm thinking I could have left at 45. I could have left at 40. I couldn't have, because at 40, I didn't know what I knew at 50. So it's probably the right time. But, you can do all the hindsight shit. But the fact that once you leave and you start and you reinvent or retry, you feel like you're 25 again. Like you feel like you're starting again, but you're way ahead, right? Because financially you're in a better place. You've done some life stuff. You've got kids at a different place. Everything's different. Yeah. And you also know a lot of shit now. Yeah. Right. And it's kind of cool. So I think it's awesome to start. I that's why we were excited to have you on. I thought I'm dying to see what he's doing, because it's pretty cool that, 29 years, he shut it down and he just full tilt. Here we go, baby.
I reached out to Phil, because as I say, listening to the podcast, I hear stuff. I know you've got your Commercial Drive coffee piece going.
Oh, there's tons of shit on the go all the time. But that's fun, right? Because why not? What else are you gonna do?
I mean, it's kind of neat too, right? Because when we talk to people, we get a lot of those questions, and a lot of people think like, when I'm at that age and I get let go, or I get packaged out, or I retire, I got to go find something brand new to do. What was really neat about your story too is you've got a new take on something that you've lived your whole life.
Exactly.
In, right? Because everyone thinks like, I've lived my whole life in CPG or whatever it is. I guess I've got to go out and like become a carpenter or but no, there's a whole different take, and you've taken a totally different take on, on an industry that you spent your whole life in, right? Which is, I think that's really cool. Like,
it's funny because I believe strongly in what I guess often is called a side hustle now, or whatever the terminology.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting when I look back at my career that how much big companies try to shut that down. They're not huge fans
100%.
And I'm like, I don't understand why now, because you think about, just even what's happened in sort of the commerce world over the last 10 years. If I'm working a marketing job on a big brand or whatever, and I go start a, Shopify store selling, I don't know, knitting wools.
Yeah.
How the hell is that a conflict with what
Who cares?
And if I'm doing that after hours and on weekends, oh, by the way, I'm actually skilling myself on running a commerce store,
absolutely,
and things that you can't do in a big company just because of the, but yet they stifle it in a way.
Yeah.
I tell people that, if you can figure out a way to run a side hustle without getting in the way of, for job number one is be good at what you do where you work.
Right.
But, get something going so that you get the learning, because you shouldn't have to wait until you get to a point where you're either packaged out or retired to go start something. You're a better employee at your big company if you take all the learning of running a small company and bring it back.
I'm totally with you. I truly believe in the side hustles.
Yeah.
I think, you got to, it's always the same thing. The person you're working for has to be number one priority.
Yeah.
And as soon as yours becomes more, then you need to leave, because that's not fair to the person who's paying your bills.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just unfair.
Agree.
Never go into an absolute conflict.
Right.
That's not fair either.
Yeah.
But who gives a shit otherwise? And if anything, like you said, you start learning online, you start understanding it. So when you're in a marketing meeting or there's an online meeting, you can actually contribute now because you understand it.
Yeah,
or you can throw things that they may not have thought of because you actually touched it now.
Yeah. But even if you had to open up your own Facebook manager account and place
whatever,
read the results and do A/B testing, you have a much better relationship with the agency who you're paying big dollars to.
100%.
Yeah.
Your questions are actually reasonable. I look at that, I think agencies must have laughed at some of these meetings because the person that was asking the question had no idea how it actually worked, which made it great because there was no way to move the business because you needed the agency.
Right? Well, the agency knew that too. They're thinking, oh my God, I love these questions. These guys are stuck with me.
Yeah, exactly.
This retainer goes on for years.
Sound like it's a big black hole that nobody else knows but me, the more I'm just going to keep you as my customer.
Absolutely.
I have one last question. I want to jump back a little. Excuse me, because we do get a lot of founders who listen to this too. Because you've got an incubator. How do you? Because for sure we're going to get those questions of people who are building brands who might want to reach out and see if you can help them accelerate. How do you've got 8, right, which is not significant, not insignificant. How do you pick what businesses you go after? So if people are reaching out to you and they want to be able to figure out if they can be part of what you're doing, how do they know if they qualify? What kinds of things are you looking for?
It's funny. It made me think of a funny sort of story coming. When we first were coming out, it shows how naive we were. Working at a big company coming out, because we were going to go sit down with all of the big, the Estee Lauders, the L'Oreals, the J&Js, the Unilevers, the Bayers, and we were going to talk to them about where they saw things 5 years out and where the disruptions were coming, and then we were going to go back and work with people to build brands. And the funny part about it is when you get out there, they're like, I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah,
exactly.
What do you think, Jeff?
That's not a really good model because I can't really tell you much more beyond about 18 months, it seemed like. And we knew that because we were living in the now moment prior to that. We do work with a lot of the R&D departments in some of these companies because that's where the upstream innovation, so things like you'll hear about things like microbiome and both gut health and sort of supplements, but also even in skincare. And the more people that talk about some of these trends that are not in the marketplace in a big way, the more we write that down and go back and do some tinkering. And we're heavy on the R&D side and supply chain side, and all of our investors are the biggest houses of formulators and clinical studies and the ones that the big companies all use. So we work with them to work on future innovation. So we get a fair amount of that, and in those cases we will take an idea, we will go and put it together, do all the formulation work, all the clinical work, all the packaging work, build the website. But at the ideation, and when we kick off a project like that, we will go find a person to work on it at that point. They work with us for like 12 months. We fund it, we pay them. And when we launch the company and incorporate it, they become the CEO and founder of that company and build a team. So that's one way, and is sort of the longest. And then, it probably represents about half of the cases we have right now, a little bit more than half of the cases. The others come from people who have been working on their own idea. And so they will, and they often are running up against getting the resources to do all the work, or the financials to do all the work. We don't run a fund, so we're not investors in other people's brands. So when we find these, we partner with them and bring them in-house. And we provide the resources on how to get the packaging done, how to get the stability work done, how to source from China, different things like that. And we help them build the brand inside, and then they become the founder and CEO and carry it forward. We tend to work, that's probably the other half of it. What we haven't done yet is find somebody who's been in the market for 2 or 3 years. We just did our first brand on that. It's a brand called Together Beauty and Hair Care. Been in the marketplace. It was ideated with Sephora in the US, and went to market, was doing a couple $1 million in sales. And then the company decided it wasn't really strategic for them. And so, we took that off their hands and are now running. So that's our first foray of a brand that is been in market, has some traction that we now have to take and grow.
That's pretty cool too, though.
That's cool.
They're a little harder in some ways, because what I find with many of them is that they've plateaued already. Yeah. And then the founder's trying to figure out how to accelerate it. And there's a reason why it may have plateaued. Right. And so there's no magical button that you can go push and all of a sudden the consumer wants it. In this case, it was done by a company that does a bunch of incubation work with retailers in the US, a company called Mesa. And their 99% of their business was with like Target and Dollar General and Walmart, and building exclusive unique brands for them, like Kirsten S and brands like that. And they'd done this one with Sephora that was a prestige type customer. And when they did a reevaluation of the portfolio, they realized they had one outlier that was sitting in a different channel that they had no competency in. And so they chose to deprioritize it at that point. So that had less to do with like the consumer's reaction to the brand was great. It was just a misalignment of priorities. Right. A little bit easier to go and take that on and keep running it, and using the strength of the brand and the consumer profile already. But it's still unproven, because a lot of people believe you could find a bunch of these DTC startups and almost create a roll-up of them, put 5 or 6 of them in the space together and leverage resources. And I'm like, yeah,
sure. Sure.
It sounds good, but
we'll be over there.
Yeah. How about we just watch this one?
Yeah.
Because they all have unique, problems, issues, and I know there's a lot of people doing the same on Amazon now. I mean, it's the current trend is like, how much money do we have to roll up a whole bunch of Amazon brands? I think the future's still out on all that.
Don't know. Yeah, don't know.
There's so much dry powder in the funding market that people are able to raise $100-200 million to go buy these things up. But the hard part in any business is operating it, not finding them, having ideas, and that kind of stuff. The hard part is operating them and being successful.
Yeah, it's knowing.
It's funny, we were talking about that the other day with somebody, because we've all had failures, right? And the typical failures come from not that the idea wasn't cool or good, not that the business couldn't have been cool or good. There was nobody operating it, right? Because because the idea is, it's like it was sort of what we started at the beginning, is great idea, we should be able to do it. And then you're looking around and thinking, well, who? Who's this person? Because I'm phoning FedEx to try to find the package, right? Remember that? I don't. Who are these people? Like, where did all these people go?
That's exactly the.
What happened to my peeps? I don't got no peeps anymore. That's cool, Jeff. That's I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, you got a good thing going, man.
Yeah,
fun. And, as I said,
we're really glad you joined us. This has been really amazing.
God, I enjoy listening to you guys. So it's like,
thanks.
There are a lot of I'll call it not boring podcasts, but they're podcasts that all start to sound the same. Built off of and every story is about founders who were successful, and there's not a lot of personality to them, and so I know you've got quite a few people that have been involved. I guess Phil, a few of them, whether it's Pigeon from I'm an investor in Dressed Loot. You've had Angie Baker, and as I hear all that, God, these are fun to listen to. And it's not just because I know the people sometimes, it's just because you two
Yeah.
bring entertainment value along with
Thank you.
the
Thank
learning.
you.
We
So
try.
keep
I
it
think
up.
we like the stories, though. I think that's what it is. I
Yeah,
don't think we
really
do
do.
much of anything outside of just let people tell their story, because I think the stories are cool. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you got to do it this way. Like, you're going to inspire potentially a lot of people in that 50 to 55 who are sitting at a desk thinking, fuck, I could make it to 60, 65. I can do it. But do I want to do this anymore? Like, there's got to be something else for me to try.
Yeah.
Right.
And happiness matters. And why wait
It's all of it.
why wait to 65 to be happy? And we haven't
Exactly.
None of us know when this all ends. So
well, that's why people end up at 65 plus the day, saddled with all these disease states or whatever, because you could have enjoyed the time, man. Like, you don't get 2 runs at this. It's 1 run.
Yeah.
I lost my father 35 years ago, who at 50, who was living for the future. Everything was about what he was going to do when he retired. And he never got there. And I was like,
not for me, baby.
Not the way to do it. And,
no.
He was doing anything wrong. That generation was, thought that way, but next generation doesn't. So good stuff. I appreciate it.
No, I'm glad you came on. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. I mean, honestly, that was kind of cool. It was neat to catch up. Nice to hear the voice again from 3 atrium floors away from each other. It's awesome.
If I can get back out to Vancouver, my mother's out there, widowed, and if I can get back out there,
bring me up.
Come.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe drop into the commercial coffee, just have an espresso.
All over it, baby.
Be awesome.
All over it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Take care of yourself, man. We'll chat soon.
Okay, take care.
Take care, man.
Take care.
Phil, hang on then.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's cool, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
You know what? Again, it's okay. And you'll have people listening. Yeah, Jeff's was in a different state. Financially, he's in a better spot, et cetera, et cetera. But doesn't mean he didn't. He could have sat at home just as easy and done nothing.
Well, listen,
but you start 8 companies. You get shit going. There's people that are behind that. I think it's fantastic.
He's got if you are, we'll put his LinkedIn profile in the episode as always. But if you have a look, like he glossed over it, but he, like, if you're looking at people who succeed in CPG, he's kind of at the pinnacle of it, right? Like he basically ran Canada, like J&J Canada. So I don't know what our number was, like 300 employees and $500 million, whatever the number is for consumer. And then he went on to run the US. He ran on to run brands like Neutrogena. And then he actually he was like the global chief transformation officer for J&J Global, right?
That's a big company.
So like when you're talking about rungs and like making it, like he kind of made it to the top of the list to retire. So if there's everyone that kind of going, fuck it, like I'm gonna go golf every day now.
Exactly.
Right? Do you know what I mean? Like
what does he do? He's probably working more now than he did before.
He launches an incubator, launches 8 brands. He invests in a bunch of people that we know. He's talking to Bram. He's gonna open up a grocer pretty soon. Yeah. So it's like September 16th today. So I figure by about December, he said he was we got
bricks and mortar next year.
100%. Maybe January he'll open his own bricks and mortar. So
100%.
Yeah.
Honestly, that what makes me laugh, because I mean I tried to give him 3-4 years. Yeah, it'll probably be like next year sometime, because
it'll be next year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But he's got like cool businesses. Like, so Rise is really cool.
You know what? I'm fine, because I didn't want to sign on because I don't have the 2 screens like my friend.
Rise is really cool, and the
like
Hone
Rise
thing, like Honed, the vitamin thing. I've already thought of 3 people that I think need to do the test, right?
Because the vitamin thing is cool. See, to me, that's scalable though. He's got the McKesson part is figured out, because I would have gone to them too. Mm-hmm. But honestly, well, I mean, at that point, that's tack onto one of the chains. McKesson deals with both countries. Pick one chain from each country, and you can scale the hell out of this, right? Because it's an important thing.
There's some really, I mean, I guess it depends on where his revenue models are too. Like he's got this, like his is, it's a per month subscription. I could also see, like being able to do this and then have an app, for example.
Oh yeah.
So if you didn't want to like get the nutrients from them and you wanted to buy it somewhere else, they could
there might be an app version of this that you might pay a lighter version for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That you could go out and source your own, stuff, right? But the only thing is you do that and they may or may not be able to guarantee that you're actually getting the results that you want, right? So do you know what I mean? Like,
there's play though.
Yeah.
There's
room there.
Definitely
for sure.
ways they can do this.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think it's cool. I think it's pretty
like,
cool.
He didn't go on to like make garbage brands, right? Like he's not on Amazon selling Chinese, like reselling Chinese stuff.
Yeah, it's not crap, right?
Like all of this is really cool, like thoughtful thought leadership, like retail leadership sort of brands, right? So it's pretty cool.
No, I think it's pretty cool too. I do. I think yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, buddy.
Again, he's got his shit together. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's been around long enough.
Yeah.
He gets it. So
yeah.
Okay, my friend. Listen, I've got to hop on a call.
Yeah, you gotta go.
And then I'll probably call you. I'll talk to you next little bit anyway.
Okay. I'm gonna just stop for a second.
Oh, hey, bye to everybody. Thanks very much for joining us today, because we don't want to be criticized for not closing our podcast the way Mark Sterling wants us to close it.